All right, we've got two games on the slate for Monday. Pistons, Knicks. Knicks are a 6.5-point favorite. So market coming back a little bit in on Detroit after their impressive performance in game one in a loss. Totals 221. Money line is Pistons plus 220. Clippers, Nuggets. Nuggets are 1.5 dogs at home. The market has rejected the notion that the Clippers are not the better team and is actually doubling down on the pre-series market move and making the Clippers a 1-point favorite on the road in Denver. Total of 218.5. Money line, Nuggets plus 100. Let's go around the horn. Jim Turvey, what are your best bets for Monday?
I have OG Anunoby over 1.5 steals, and I'm now realizing one of my bets is actually for Tuesday. So here's a freebie for the folks. Kyle Kuzma under 17.5 when they play on Tuesday.
Okay, there's it's my fault for not keeping you on point. That's a point guard problem. That's not your fault. That was a bad pass by
Kyle
me.
Kuzma, I was Kyle Kuzma. I was embodying him, just firing up a shot at will there.
Joe Dellera, your best bet for Monday.
I like Karl Anthony Towns over 25.5 PA. If it bumps 26.5, grab 22.5 points. If that goes to 23.5, which it's going to, then 26.5 PA is also fine.
Okay. I'm going to take Nuggets money line plus 100. I am going to take Jalen Brunson over. I'm only going to do points over. His line is 27.5 at DK. Brunson over 27.5 points will be one. I will probably have more as we kind of talk this through as well. I will be back on this one hit in a very, very narrow, bad process way, but I still feel really good about it, and I'll explain why. Jalen Duren over 2.5 assists, going back to the well on that one as well. Okay, so let's start with Knicks Pistons, and let's go with that one. Jim, what are your thoughts on Knicks Pistons and why you like OG over 1.5 steals?
Yeah, I mean, if you were here at the start of the show, you probably heard us talking about Anunoby being the answer on Cade. Cade's one of the highest turnover players in the league. I think he may have led the league in turnovers this season per game. I know he missed some games there at the end, so maybe some passed in terms of total turnovers. But he is a young point guard in his playoff debut, which we can accredit or discredit as much as we want. But I mean, in game one, OG Anunoby had 5 steals. I don't think that is a coincidence. I don't think I'm going to play him to get 5 steals again, but you can get him at 1.5 steals. It is juiced. I think it was minus 158 when I last looked. But he's going to be getting a lot of action on a turnover-heavy young guard in his second postseason game. It's a pretty simple cap. I'm probably going to play this every game if they give us this 1.5 number, even pretty juiced. And if you want to play the escalators, I mean, listen, he had 5 in game one. So if you can find steals escalators out there, I don't hate that either.
The Pistons really need Jaden Ivey. They really need Jaden Ivey would make it. If Jaden Ivey were playing in the series, I might legitimately, like, if you told me that Jaden Ivey was back for game 2, I might put a bet in on Pistons to win the series. That's how important I think he is. Because like a lot of this is simply, if they're going to put OG on Cade, then what you should be able to do is you should be able to then go, all right, we're going to put, even with McHale on Ivy, you should be able to be like, all right, we're going to run pick and roll action. We're going to get a mismatch on one switch somewhere with the rest of your actions, or we're going to get Ivy downhill and we're going to be able to attack with somebody else, or have Cade initiate with that Brunson and then get a secondary playmaker. Beasley can't do it. Tobias had a good game, but really can't do it. They don't have, this is why Schroeder played such a big role. And this is a big reason why I'm on Brunson overs, is Jalen had a terrible game shooting against Dennis Schroeder and was good versus everybody else. That's not going to hold. There was a couple of sequences where Schroeder did a good job. Like he had like a really good block on him. That's not going to hold. Dennis can't hang with him. Dennis is not going to be able to manage him. I think he's probably going to get in foul trouble. And so this is a reason why I think when I watched Jalen's possessions, it was not like, oh, wow, the Pistons did a really great job containing Jalen Brunson. It was, oh, Jalen Brunson missed shots. Like, he's going to be fine in game 2, which is why I think that I'll be on him. I'll probably be on him in the Knicks money line on a same game parlay. That makes a lot of sense to me. The numbers for 3 seeds that won game 1 in the first round since 2003, 20-9 straight up at 69%. Not one of the highest ones. The 3-6 is sometimes a little wonky. ATS is actually only 15-14, but moneyline, I do think they're going to get the win here in game 2. And I think Brunson has a really good game. The OG thing, even if they move that screen up higher, OG can cause steals. Like OG is just like I have always had like some little reservation about OG, and he's turned me around over the last like year and a half with some of his mentality and approach to the game stuff. Like he fired Clutch literally because he was like, they were putting out that he wanted to be like the man somewhere, that he wanted to be like a go-to scorer. And he was like, never said that. Not a thing I said. So
Can do it, but like,
yeah. And you know, and the way that he embraced going to New York and all those things. But on top of that, just like OG is so physical and so good. The over 1.5 steals, I think, is a really good play. Joe, talk to me about Karl Anthony Towns, your favorite Knickerbocker of all time.
He's been awesome, honestly. And I just think this line is, I think it's a little bit low. And I think in large part, it's because he only took 14 shots in game 1, which was a little bit of a step down from where he's typically at. He's normally at about 17 per game. But he actually, fun fact, had the lowest usage rate of the entire season. I don't think that's going to happen again. It was at 16.7%. I think that even though the Knicks won, I do think that they need to have a little bit more of an effort to get Cat involved in the offense. We saw that he played 40 minutes, and I think that's always the thing. It's just, okay, well, what is the playoff rotation going to look like? 40 minutes. Great. So I think it's 16.7%, which is, like I said, the lowest usage rate he's had all season, when he's averaging, for the most part, he's at about 27%. I think he's just going to have way more opportunity in game 2, just naturally. And this is a spot that he should be able to go over. He's also just kind of smoked Detroit in this spot. He's gone over 25.5 PA in 6 straight games against Detroit, including all of them this season. He's been able to dish as well. So he's had at least 3 in all games this season, and he's had 5, 3, and 7 against Detroit. So I like adding the assists in there. He's been effective as a secondary facilitator. We've seen him find some guys cutting, dishing, dumping off, whatever. I just think that the PA on the combo prop is a good way to include him in a strong offensive performance from New York again in this game.
I'll be curious to see what the Pistons do with Cat defensively. One of the reasons I'm a little nervous about it. So he was great. He was awesome. I talked about how good he was. He did get 5 of his shots versus Toby. They put Toby on him, and he was able to generate, and like he was just like too big for him. I actually kind of like his threes prop more now, because I think that they're probably going to be like, all right, we tried putting Tobias on him, and that didn't work. Let's go ahead and put Duren on him, and maybe we're going to have to go to Duren Stewart in some of these matchups if it's the bit too big. If that happens, I'm going to like Karl Anthony Towns over threes, because he's going to shoot those more than he did, I think, in game 1. He had 2 3-point attempts versus Duren and 1 versus Stewart. So effectively, like, this is the question mark here. And if Brunson gets going offensively, they're going to have to send 2 on him, which is going to open up that pick and pop game. So like, I actually, now that I'm kind of, this is why I like the show. We're like talking through it. Brunson over points, Cat over threes, I think seems like a really good one. No reason not to throw Joe's prop in there as well, because hey, if he puts up, like, if he hits 3 threes, the odds of him hitting that over on that prop, I think, is high as well. So I think we probably got something going there, but I do like the Knicks, I think, in game 2. I'll probably be on the over as well, because that was my favorite bet. That I was like, I nailed this. And I did not see enough from Detroit. I actually saw less from Detroit defensively than I was expecting, and I had low expectations going in. So, and the Knicks are not good defensively. OG's great. OG's great.
No, it's true. The Brunson Knicks are not a good defense.
Knicks are not a good defense. Duren over on assists. So he had 3 potential assists. Duren had 3 assists, which I understand should probably scare the shit out of me. 2 of them on his kickouts were turnovers on travels. So he had more opportunities and was able to get there are going to be better opportunities, especially because I'll say this, like, Cade was very much, I think, trying to be like, oh, I'm going to be able to attack and score. And then by the 4th quarter, after they had allowed a 21-0 run, Cade was like, oh, I really need to be probably making these extra passes for these wing guys. And Duran's going to be the short roll guy in a lot of those situations, and he is a really good passer. I gave this out before game one as one of my favorites because I saw that film of him. So I'm going to be on Duran over assists as well.
I'm trying to cook this up real quick while we're going here.
We don't want to get too many legs. We got to figure out like what's the most direct pathway for us to get home here.
Well, I did the opposite of that. I said, what's the way to make us the most money? So sure. When you find the direct path, what I did was Knicks money line over 222, Brunson to score 30, Cat to hit 3 threes, so that's escalated 1, and OG to get 3 steals, that's escalated 1. That's 48-1. So you could definitely tone that down a little bit, but 48-1 is tasty if you want a real nice long shot right there.
That is definitely tasty.
I see Joe going to bed it right now.
Honestly, my biggest concern with Cat and the threes is like he just isn't taking them lately. So like I think he fits in with our cap, but he just hasn't been shooting them. Like he's taken 3. Like he hasn't even taken more than 3 in like 8 games. So I'm just concerned that there's just not going to be enough volume from 3-point range.
Well, on this parlay, Knicks money line 25 Brunson points. Cat 2 plus 3s, and the over is plus 465. That's a 4-legger, all correlated plus 465, and that's only 2 threes for Cat.
Yeah.
So, I like it when we actually have these different SGPs that we can play. By the way, if you're listening and you're like, I like parlays. If you're listening to this and you're like, parlays are stupid, that's fine. Move along. If you're listening to this and you love parlays, check out Parlay Express in the Action Network app. All the different sports put in big number parlays and big number bets and futures and long shots. So it's like the most fun bets for like a tenth of a unit.
I gotta say, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was saying I was the Mr. Parlays were dumb forever. There are some really good hidden stuff in there. If you go down the parlay spot, it's not as
if you're like us and you spend all the time in the lab. I've said this to every one of our contributors when they've had this feeling is I'm like, take on the challenge of trying to find the value in these markets, because all we're doing is trying to play the books against themselves with what they're allowing to be parlayed. So
and if you're a bettor who gets limited a lot, they're never going to limit you on parlays.
You can also, by the way, catch things like my overtime bets that I forgot to log because I'm an idiot. Like on Clippers Nuggets, which I gave out as a best bet. and so I did, Joe. On Friday night, I parlayed Hawks Heat. No. Was it Hawks Heat? Yeah, it was Hawks Heat and Kings Mavericks. And so we got halfway there, and then Kings Mavericks came up short Mavs Grizzlies, because Mavs blew them out. Real quick on Nuggets Clippers. So I'm going to be on Nuggets here. Couple of numbers for you. I'm going to go ahead and start here. Here's since 2003. Think of this as you want systems, I think, that very much play into a cap. But let's take a step backwards and let's say the average context of the league, the shape of the league with the 4-5, 2 teams that are close to each other. 4 seeds that win game 1 are 19-6 straight up in game 2, 17-8 ATS at 68% in round 1. So that to me is like pretty strong off the bat here. We got 17-8 ATS mark here. But the better one is the more human angle. Teams coming off of overtime on the road in the playoffs in the first round, 6-11 straight up and 7-10 against the spread since 2014-15, last 10 years. 4 seeds are 9-2 straight up and ATS after winning game 1 over the last 10. I'm on Nuggets plus 100 here, in part because you have a short window for an old team. It's less than 48 hours before tip off of game 2 for an old team in the Clippers that just got dealt with an emotionally devastating loss. Like, you come in and you're like, this is it. This is finally the year. We're going to do it. We got rid of Paul George. We didn't need that loser. We got him. Led the entire game. Choked it away again. Yeah. You lose in overtime on a Russell Westbrook 3-pointer, basically. Now, Like, I understand the Jim perspective of like, but they were
on a
like,
Russell Westbrook 3-point.
right. Absolutely. 100%. A lot of this legitimately is, I think, if you look at the Clippers and you're like, I believe in their leadership structure. I think Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are going to respond in a big time moment. If that's where you want to bet, you can walk on over and grab yourself a Clippers bet right there. Jim?
I will say, I saw Antonio ask in the chat, did Kawhi look slow? He definitely looked a lot worse than he did the entire final month of the season, which kind of breaks my brain and makes me really annoyed that they ran him out there in that back-to-back. If he just didn't look as aggressive. Now, maybe part of this is the Aaron Gordon thing. How much of this do you think is Aaron Gordon? But the energy level just didn't look the same as in the final game of the regular season when they were playing the Warriors. It kind of broke my brain. That's why my whole thing, like feeling like I didn't learn anything about the series, was like, well, either I did learn something, and it's the most depressing thing, which is that the Clippers just aren't going to care in the postseason.
I have a question. Does Kawhi ever look like super energized? Is he out there being like, yeah? No.
But it was like even lower than that. It was really bizarre. It was like very sleepwalking.
This is one I don't know, and I wanted to go. I had Easter stuff on Sunday, so I couldn't make it. 7-point game, by the way, in Golden State with my overtime bet. By the way, David Payne did parlay them. Our producer David Payne parlayed them. He took Nuggets, Clippers, and Rockets, Warriors at 255-1. So we're hoping for overtime in Warriors, Rockets. When I kind of like walked away from that game, one of the things that was really interesting, the Nuggets came out in a 2-3 zone. Why? Why would you do that? They're not a good zone team. They've never been a good zone team. They had Aaron Gordon matched up on James Harden. Why would you do that? Like, the idea is a pre-switch. That's why you do it, is that you're like, because he won't want to attack Aaron Gordon. He'll run a pick and roll, and now we can switch with AG onto the guard or the forward. That doesn't work because James Harden was like, I'm faster than Aaron Gordon. I'm just going to get downhill on him.
Yeah.
And like, I never expected them to do that. Their cross matches and systems were perplexing to me as somebody who has attended 35 average road game or home games a year for the Nuggets for the past 13 seasons. And all of this era with David Adelman, I was like, what is happening? Like, what is this defensive structure? And then midway through the second quarter, they were just like, hey, like, what if we actually do like the game plan? And they're like, oh, let's do that. And all of a sudden, like, they took off second quarter and then second, and they got better and better. Like, their energy level, Jokic's at level play went from horrendous to not good to okay to third quarter pretty good to end of third quarter pretty great to fourth quarter great to fifth to overtime. He hedged him to the edge of the court like Marc Gasol. It's some of the best at level stuff I've seen. I'm not saying the Nuggets rope-a-dope them. I'm not saying the Nuggets rope-a-dope them. And so, look, and they'll have counters here. This is the counter argument. Because everybody's like, this is what like Nuggets fans are like, this is what Malone never did. He never made these kind of adjustments in game. And one of the things I would say is like, you know why? Because you never want to be the first one to make an adjustment. Because if you do, next game, they're coming in already with that. Now, the Nuggets' big adjustment in game one was literally don't do the brain dead opposite of what you should do. So I don't know if that's an adjustment or not, but it's like a really interesting question. I am concerned from this perspective, Jim, about the Nuggets. I'm like, I moved the Clippers in 6 by the end of the week because listening to you and Brandon and other analysts, like I upgraded the Clippers by like several points in power rating. And then I came out as like, oh, the Clippers should be favored here. And the most likely outcome is Clippers in 6. One thing I am concerned about, that game on Saturday was not like the Nuggets. That's not what they should want this to be an offensive series. This should not be like a slugfest series. And the fact, so it's like a double-edged sword, Joe, where it's like, on the one hand, the Nuggets should not have wanted this to be a defensive battle. On the other hand, it was a slugfest, and it was who could make the more hustle plays. And Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook whipped their ass in the fourth quarter. So, like, I don't know what to take away from that, but I am going to go ahead and bet Nuggets plus 100 for game 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes down to if it is going to be a hustle type of series where you need if and every play is a little bit more high leverage in terms of your effort. If you have guys like Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook, Aaron Gordon, even and Jokic, honestly, you're going to be getting a little bit more of an edge, I think, because you have guys that just have a motor that just goes forever. So that is the one thing about Westbrook. I saw a tweet today, and it was like Russell Westbrook is the mystery box from Mario Kart, and you just never know what you're gonna get. but that is how it goes. So it's like, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But at the same time, this is a Jim problem.
Yeah, this is not me.
But you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But I do think that Westbrook becomes playable in the series in a way, like if it is a little bit more defensive and hustle oriented.
Yeah, do you think that means MPJ's on unders? I see that in the chat too. I do think those are very correlated.
Yeah, so I just don't think he can play in the series at all. Adelman is pretty adamant about one thing that's very key here is Adelman has set the tone of whoever's playing well that night, not based off of the box score, whoever I think is giving us a chance to win is going to play. So like when Russell Westbrook didn't play in the Kings game, everyone's like, see, he's benching Russ. He's benching Russ because he knows. And then Russell played and closed the next game. Like it is not a definitive thing with Adelman. It's really like kind of a feel thing. What I will say is like it's very evident that MPJ can't play in the series. But that's partly really not. He gets a bad rap. It's not his fault because this is the same thing as the Wolves series. What the Clippers did in game one is they brought their help from the strong side. If you bring your help from the like if Jokic posts on the left side of the floor and you bring from MPJ's on the right corner and you bring his man over, MPJ is going to get the ball with an opportunity to shoot. But what everybody knows is, hey, what if we just like stayed home on him? Just stay home because they don't really want to run DHO stuff with him because his handle's not good enough and you can break it up and that's turnovers. And if you just stay home on him, he doesn't provide anything and he's just a defensive sieve. So that's like Westbrook's defensive stuff on top of all of the rustness, good and bad, is why I think he gets more minutes. Peyton Watson, I think, had a small ankle injury. I don't expect him to miss game 2. I'll probably be on Peyton Watson overs. I think he can play a lot more in the series. I thought his minutes were very good in game 1. I'm going to be on Peyton Watson overs.
Yeah.
Okay.